L'Europe a une grande et longue histoire, et comme toutes les longues et grandes histoires,
Europe has a long and great history, and like all long and great histories which extend across such vast spaces and so many centuries, it's been marked by drama, war, natural disaster, famine, economic crisis, invasion, civil war. Europe has always got over it, more or less rapidly, but always with courage and talent. We can speak of a kind of European resilience, of the capacity of our civilization to learn from its errors in order to progress. Europe is a miracle. Europe doesn't look like much, the smallest continent, wedged between Asia and the sea, with neither the vast expanses of America nor Asia's teeming masses. Yet Europe is the beating heart of the human adventure. In a few centuries, Europe invented so much. The monastery, the Gothic style, Gregorian chant, the Bill of Exchange, feudalism, canon law, the printing press, musical symphonies, the steam engine, electricity, internal combustion engines, the railways, cinema, aircraft. It was Europe, first with its ships, then with its railways, cars, aircraft, that discovered and connected so much of the world. Europe, with its rules of hygiene, its vaccines, its medicines, cared for humanity. Europe was able to think separately about the temporal and the spiritual. Europe invented the individual, emancipating him from the law of the clan and the law of the tribe. In Europe was born the Renaissance, the Enlightenment, the Industrial Revolution. Each time an intellectual, technical, artistic, scientific, or political novelty came in any corner of Europe, the entire continent within a few years made it its own. Europe is not a country, not a people, but it is one and the same civilization, forged by Judæo-Christianity and the Græco-Roman spirit. The so-called European Union is not even a century old, but our Europe is more than 2 millennia old. They are Europeans who recognize themselves in this heritage and want to perpetuate it. Those who do not recognize themselves there are from another place. Our continent is very old. Its philosophical, political, legal, religious roots go back to antiquity, but they still seem young. Of Cleopatra's Egypt, only ruins remain. But from Caesar's Rome, there remains a vision of the world which is relevant today. We continue to be nourished by the thought of Seneca, Marcus Aurelius, Cicero, even more so of Heraclitus, of Socrates, of Plato. Despite all its trials, all its suffering, despite the many times we thought it was lost, European civilization seems to have something immortal about it.
Avoir quelque chose d'immortel. L'Europe contemporaine entre dans une nouvelle crise et chacun sent confusément qu'elle pourrait être la dernière.
This crisis could prove more serious, graver than all crises that have gone before. Europe isn't under bombardment. It hasn't been devastated by plague. It isn't ravaged by famine. But in most of the countries of the continent, millions have the feeling that all they believe in, all they've known, all they are, is on the verge of collapse. Everywhere in Europe, from Portugal to the Netherlands to Belgium to England, Italy, Germany, and very acutely in France, there's a sense of urgency affecting all social strata, from ordinary people right up to the wealthiest, from the most modest to the most fortunate. This urgency, bordering on fear or even panic, is formed of the impression that European civilization is surrounded by several enemies, all extremely dangerous, and that this encirclement could get the better of who we are and everything we love.
L'islamisation du continent. Une religion qui entend régenter...
Islam proposes to regulate all aspects of life. Everywhere it becomes strong enough to force through change in the smallest detail, in aspects of clothing, of education, of culture, of gastronomy. The list of fields where Mohammedanism plans to impose Sharia upon us is endless. Leftist militants, successful weakening of Christianity in the last century, opened the way for the Muslim faith. And this is a faith that claims to fill our spiritual void and which plainly intends to dominate the entire European continent. Look at London. Look at the banlieue in France. The great replacement is in train. European lands are increasingly lands of jihad, where violence reigns, women are humiliated, and questioning the Quran and Muhammad is forbidden on pain of death. Only ideologues and naïfs continue to deny the reality of this situation.
L'ennemi qui nous encercle, c'est la bureaucratie européenne.
The European Union bureaucracy is the enemy of the peoples of the continent, encircling them along with the tyranny of the European judges. A monster omnipresent, the EU keeps growing, excreting ever more laws, norms, prohibitions, promoting surveillance and censorship, to the point where the continent, which has been one of liberty for so long, is becoming inexorably a zone of accelerated impoverishment of freedom. Economic, political, cultural freedom has become the prey of the superstate's bureaucracy, which resembles Soviet communism in a, for the moment, soft version. We see a kind of faceless socialism taking hold, not quite totalitarian, but less and less democratic. There is an urgent need to put an end to the regime of Ursula von der Leyen and her progressives.
Veut anéantir notre culture, notre identité et notre histoire.
Woke wants to destroy our culture, identity, and history. It rabidly detests our 2 millennia of glory, victories, genius, creativity. Woke is uninteresting and grotesque, an extraordinarily stupid and empty type of extremist ideology. But it is one of outright stubbornness and aggression. There is not a single element of our civilization that woke doesn't want to destroy. Everything we are is unendurable to the woke. Everything we are must disappear in a vast auto da fe. Woke is immensely dangerous. It influences immeasurably the media of communication, artists, institutions. It has become the new face of the European left. And not just European, our American friends will know just what I'm talking about. I say to the woke who so abominate Europe's history, I say to these nihilists, to these punks who consider the Occident an absolute evil, I say to them, grow up, read a few books, stop throwing tomato soup at the Mona Lisa and destroying our public monuments. Give thanks to the heavens for having been born here and not elsewhere. You are badly behaved infants who break the magnificent toys that were gifted to you.